Angles and parallel lines. I hope you remember what we learned in the previous video about transversals and parallel lines. If you have not watched the previous video, please go back to the previous video and watch it. Now we will recall the formulas, the theorems. Now, if two lines are parallel and they're cut by a transversal, there are special relationship between the angles that are formed by the lines. Now, over here, few of the theorems are corresponding angles. We know what is corresponding angles. Just a while ago, we had learned if the positioning is similar, then they are corresponding angles. Now, imagine angle 1. It is at the top left side. So same way top left side over here would be corresponding to it. Same way over here 7 is down right, 5 is down right. So 5 and 7, 1 and 3, 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 are corresponding angles. We know about alternate interior angle. Before I tell one thing I forgot to tell you, the theorem states that if at all the corresponding angles are there, whatever the measure of the angle is congruent. So that is what the theorem says. It's basically what we had seen in the previous video. Same thing over here now, alternate interior angles. We know interior are the inside angles. So now these two lines, inside is all the angles over here, this and this. The four angles are interior. So if we consider 2, 6 is interior, 2 and 6. So now alternate means opposite. So 7 and 3 over here, alternate interior. So now 7 and 3 is congruent, 2 and 6 is congruent. So this is about interior angles. Now about consecutive interior angles, that is continuous. So now if we consider say 2 and then now 3 over here would be continuous. So something like this. Now let me just check this 1 and 3. Okay, I'm sorry for this. 1 and 3 is not consecutive. There is an error over here. I apologize for that. I'll just rechange this and edit it later on. Now this is supposed to be 2 over here. 2 and 3 are consecutive interior angles. 7 and 6 and 7. This is correct. So just to make it clear, now it depends on how the angles are cut. In this case, this and this are interior angle. The same side interior angle, I'll tell you about it. Now, since over here, the two lines are parallel like this, horizontally, therefore these would be the consecutive interior angles. So in this case, same side means consecutive. In this case, it would be 2 and 3, 7 and 6. I hope that is clear. So always remember, consecutive means same side, okay? In interior in the same side, whereas alternate is opposite side. Now the last one I guess is alternate exterior. So now exterior is the outside angles. This is 1, this is 5. Exterior, outside angles are 1, 8, 4 and 5. Now what about this angle 4? It is exterior, it's congruent to 8. So these are congruent to each other. And that's okay. There is a special relationship that is about perpendicular transversal theorem. In a plane, if a line is perpendicular to one of two parallel lines, then it is perpendicular to the other. Now what it means is, if this is the transversal, you're cutting one of the line and it's making a 90 degree. Then since the slopes of the parallel lines are same, other line also must be cut at 90 degree itself. So that is what it says. Okay, because these are corresponding angles, isn't it? Now, if it was, say, 30 degrees over here, no, this looks like 60 degrees. So this also would be 60 degrees because they're corresponding. Same way 90 and 90. So then we will look into some problems now. Use theorems about parallel lines. Cross ties I and K, this is about railway cross ties, are parallel. I and K. Okay, these two lines. Okay, over here you can see I and K. Okay, it is a little bit faded. I is over here, K is over here. So this is, sorry for that. So this is one line and this is one line and they are parallel. Both cross ties are intersected by cross tie H. Can you see this line H over here? So this is this is cutting them. So that's the transversal. If 1 is 45, look over here, this angle 1 is, sorry, not 45, 42 degrees. What about the measure of angle 7? Now look carefully over here. This is the exterior angles, this is the exterior angles, and they are alternate. Whenever they are alternate to each other, what happens? They are congruent, isn't it? So now 7 and 1 is congruent. Why? They are alternate exterior angles. If they are alternate exterior angles, then the measure of these both must be congruent to each other, because they are alternate exterior angles. From the congruent angles theorem, we had seen the measure must be equal. So that means if 1 is 42, even the measure of 7 must be 42. That is the answer. It's a very simple, basic one. Now, let us see another one over here. The figure is given. We need to find x based on these conditions. The measure of 3 is given to be 4x plus 7, and measure of 6 is 5x minus 13. Now 3 and 6, look at this, 3 and 6. Over here, 3, 6. Analyze the figure over here and find the relationship. They are inside interior alternate because they are opposite. So alternate interior angles. Now we know alternate interior angles are congruent. 3 and 6 are congruent. So measure of 3 and measure of 6 is equal to each other. Now just equate these both equations. 4x plus 7, 5x minus 3. Keep x at one side and the numbers at one other sides. Since 5 is greater than 4, 5x will remain over there. 4 is taken to the other side, it will be minus 4x. This minus 13 goes to the other side and becomes plus 13 with 7 plus 13. It will be 20 at the left side, and it's 5x minus 4x, it's 1x. We don't write 1. If we write x, that means the coefficient is already 1. So x is 20 in this case. So x value is 20. Now over here again we have a similar figure, same figure. Now they have given us told us to find y, and the measure of 8, this angle is given 68, and measure of angle 3 is given. So how do we find? First, analyze the relationship between them. They are not corresponding, it's not easy to find them because we don't have any relation between these two specific ones. So what do we do? Now, we do not have relationship between 3 and 8. Don't worry about that. You can relate with 5, right? Or you can relate with something else. See, because 3 and 6 is related, you can relate 3 and 5. So what you do is relate 8 with 6 or 5. So what we are doing over here in this problem, 8 and 5 are related. Then you can find the angle of 3. So what we basically do is 8 and 5 is equal to each other. Why? Because we know that they are vertical angles. See, whenever there are two straight lines, the opposite angles are vertical and they are congruent to each other. So 5 and 8 are equal. So measure of 5 is equal to measure of 8. That means the angle 5, measure of angle 5 is 68 degrees. Okay, that is fine. Now, how do we get a relationship between 3 and 5 so that we can find the y? We know they are in the same side, so it's consecutive interior angles. And in one of the theorem we had seen, if we go back in the video when we saw about the same side, I forgot to tell, whenever they are same side, they are supplementary. Okay, very important to remember. Consecutive angles are always supplementary. That means when you add them, it will be equal to 180 degrees. So just remember, when there are consecutive interior angles, they're continuous to each other. When you add them up, it will be supplementary, or they are 180 degrees. So now when you add 3 and 5, you will get 180. So substitute, what is 3? 3y minus 2. And what is 5? It is 68. Solve this. You can take 2 to the other side and then divide it by 3. Take this entire thing to the other side and then divide by 3. You will get the answer 38. You can directly solve it in the calculator. Otherwise, if you want the steps, it's 180 minus 68 plus 2. Now when you solve this, you will get one answer and then divide the entire term by 3 equals y. So this is the final answer. You will get as 38. So this is how we can solve these problems. So that is the end of this lesson. It's a very simple and easy lesson. Just remember about the relationship between transversals and parallel. That is alternate interior, alternate exterior, or same side, that is consecutive interior angles, and few of the things like vertical angles, all those. Just looking at the figure, see over here, understand these opposite are always congruent. Now even these are congruent. Now if they are vertical opposite angles, they are congruent. So if you understand those relationships, doesn't matter what sort of problem is given, it's very easy to solve once you know the relationships. If you have any doubts, please put them down in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible.